these were all boys who had gone into, were going to go into ministry. 7 of them are in the ministry now. 13 at that time had volunteered or had surrendered to preach. We had a youth revival, and we called it was back in the days of the drug revolution, and a lot of these kids had been on drugs. It was the time when the freaks were coming in. You know, I mean, we really had freaks. We went out witnessing one time to Love Field in Dallas, and there was this one guy sitting in kind of a lotus position. And we went up to him and we said, "We want to talk to you about Jesus." Just like that, just like you do. And we want to talk to you about Jesus. He says, "Don't talk to me. I'm a grapefruit. If you do, I'll squirt all over you." I mean, it was wild. And so what we did was, we had a youth revival and we called it LSD, Lord Save the Day. I invited, at that time, the largest Methodist church in the world was a black church. Actually, I think Highland Park was a little better, so it must have been the second largest in the world. 7,000 members. Boy, that's not much of a mega church now, but in those days that was a big church. And I invited this black pastor who had his TV program just like now. He had a TV program everybody loved, everybody in town, everybody watched it because he was such a great preacher. He was about 6'9". I've never seen a bigger guy. And he wasn't just brown, he was really black. And he had his head shaved, and so he would just kind of glow when he walked around. And I invited him. I never expected him to come. I thought he was too big a preacher to come to our youth revival. Can you imagine? A church from 7,000 people coming to preach at our youth revival. He came to our church in a black limousine. And he was wearing a black suit with a watch chain here. And a vest. Oh man. Shine shoes. I mean, it was magnificent. When I walked out and I opened the door for him in the limousine, he was in the back seat. I don't remember. He had a chauffeur. I don't know who it was. He steps out, and we didn't do anything. He came at just the right time, and I just ushered him across into our church. All the kids were sitting there, and when he walked in, everybody went dead silent. And then I got up and we did a few hymns and choruses, and he enjoyed them, but he never said a word. And then I introduced him, pastor of St. Luke's United Methodist Church, the famous, the renowned I.B. Loud. And he be loud, by the way. And he stepped up in the pulpit, and he began to preach. Just a quiet sermon at first. And I don't remember anything he said. But I do remember the last illustration. He started leaning out over the pulpit. We had a big pulpit. Leaning out. And he was so big, when he got out, he was right in the face of the kids. And his eyes were flashing. And he said, "I want to tell you the story. I'm going to do it just like he did. This is exactly it. This is a moment in time in 1968, before your parents were born." He leans out and he says, "I want to tell you a story about Jesus coming to see Mary and Martha. It was a bad day in Bethany because Lazarus had died. Jesus came late, and the children in Bethany didn't understand. He said, when Jesus came, he walks into the garden, and Martha met him. And Martha said, 'Lord, Lord, if you'd have been here, my brother wouldn't have died.' And the Lord said to Martha, 'Martha, don't you believe that you're going to see your brother again?' 'Oh, yes, Lord, at the resurrection.' Jesus, he said to Martha, he takes Martha's face in her hands, and he said, 'Martha, darling, you looking at the resurrection.'" Isn't that great? You're looking at the resurrection. I am the resurrection and the life. Man, I enjoyed it more that time than I did. Let's take a break for 5 minutes.